Hey, everybody. Since it's Friday, I have a little music for us.
There you go.
That's it, man. That's it. We got good news coming in. Welcome into the best damn pod in the land. I'm your host, Chad Stryker. With me, as always, Dan Dibjack. Dan, I'm going to let you break the news because you sent it to me. Happy Friday, man. How are you? What's new? What's going on?
I am well. Just when I thought I couldn't be more excited about this season, we wake up to the news that we've signed a 6'7" punter from Australia. 6'7", 255.
255.
I mean, hell, just put him under center and let him fall forward for a yard on 4th and 1, right?
Yeah. You know, that's our running joke on our show, guys, that if you guys don't know, I was so freaking irritated last year with special teams, and then it haunted us in the Michigan game, 4th and 1 at Michigan's 45 going into halftime, and we can't seem to get a yard. So, yeah, man, I'm excited. Can you imagine the leg swing on that guy to kick the football?
I mean, I would think he's good for at least 2 or 3 roughing the kicker penalties per season, right?
Yeah.
Just because of the kids misjudge the depth, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, so that's great news. He'll be in this class, so he'll be enrolled. I guess this summer. I would be my assumption.
Yeah.
So for fall, I guess technically for fall, but he'd be in for summer camp, which is good.
Kind of interesting. I think we've got 1, if not 2, walk-ons from that same. I think it's called Pro Kick Australia.
Yeah.
And now this kid's coming in from the same school, or academy, and with a scholarship. So.
Yeah. So Mirko was from there, and then the guy from him was from there before him, and then we took a walk-on transfer from Wayne State. So I don't know if he's from the Pro Kick Australia or not, but he's a transfer from Wayne State, and then the other guy is
Mirko. Right.
Not Mirko.
No, Mirko's gone. The guy, McGuire.
Yeah. McGuire, yeah. They both had M names. But, so he's from Pro Kick Australia as well. So, yeah, we have 3 punters. Obviously, they saw an issue with or were concerned about an issue with McGuire because they brought that kid in from Wayne State. I don't know anything about him. I heard he's a pretty good kicker, but, I'm excited about a 255-pound kicker. That's great.
Yeah, as long as he can move, right? I mean, there's some things you can do there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'll just run up to the line of scrimmage, do a little jump pass.
I wonder if he's like one of those rugby-style kickers at 6'7". That would be super interesting to me.
I was listening to someone, it might have been Kevin Noon, where they were looking at film, or it might have been Gibbler on that same podcast with the two of them, where they said that they've seen some film on the kid, and it showed an array of different types of kicks, right?
Okay.
Rugby style, everything.
I feel like I remember them saying they tried to find some of it on YouTube, and maybe they found some on his Facebook or something. I don't know. It wasn't a real.
It might have been the Pro Kick site.
It might have been Pro Kick website. Yeah. So so that's great. First week of spring practice in the books. Everybody's juiced. The sun is shining in Ohio. So how are you feeling about what you've seen so far? Spring practice. I mean, first week of spring practice, everybody's up anyways. Like, it's finally here. So how are you feeling about what you've seen? I know that you've talked to some folks too in and around the program. So
yeah. You know what? I've seen enough clips of routes on air to know that we're going to shatter all passing records this year. It's just undoubtedly going to happen, right? I mean, whatever we see them run routes on air, it tells us exactly how the season's going to play out.
Yeah, for sure. With no defense and no offensive line. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I'm just excited that there's football.
Okay.
I'm going to reserve judgment until we start to see some live bullets.
Right.
I think Ryan enjoys messing with the beat, and, he brings them in there to let the guys, watch the guys stretch and throw on air and, maybe line up in punt formation, and then he kicks them all out. So, the real soup gets made, once those guys leave. So, I find it really, really interesting that there seems to be a lot of momentum for Devin Brown all of a sudden. Like, the beat destroyed him last year, and now all of a sudden he's head and shoulders above Will Howard, and He's got the strongest arm out there. And listen, I'm not saying none of that's true. And you know that I'm a huge Devin Brown fan. But listen, we don't know what happens once those guys leave the room. With that being said, I do think it's going to be a legit quarterback battle. I don't think there's any assurances. I don't think there's any guarantees. I just don't think Ryan's in a position to have to do that. I don't know. I might be in the minority with that mindset, but I think it's going to be a legit quarterback battle, so I'm super excited about it.
So I'm not going to say there's not a quarterback battle, because I know Ryan Day is going to play the best quarterback on the roster. I think he learned from last year that I think last year there was some political stuff, and I think he might have got caught up in a little bit. But anyways, no argument. Devin Brown has the strongest arm of the quarterback room, probably, with maybe the exception of Aaron Noland. I don't know, because I was listening to another podcast, and they were saying that Aaron Noland throws a really catchable ball, and but it doesn't have like it. I don't want to say it floats, because that's the wrong term, but that like he has a nice touch on it for a left-hander. So Steve Young-esque. So yeah, and then I did hear that Devin seems to be steady as she goes. Had command of the offense, looked good, looked like a starter. Will Howard, I guess, first day jitters were gone on Thursday, and looked much more poised, much more in command. Made a couple nice throws to the sideline, I saw. And then the other interesting thing, and I'm going to ask you about this, is Julian Sayin looks like a very small man in that quarterback room. I mean, Sayin's only barely 6'1". So it's a big room. I mean, it is. Those are some big dudes.
There's some big bodies in there. I mean, Devin looks like he's leaned out a little bit compared to last year, which I think is probably intentional. Will's he's a big cat, he's a big joker. Yeah. He's a big kid. It's not, we don't have any Bryce Youngs in there.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. Whoops. Of course.
The air thing, I'm still struggling with his motion, his mechanics.
It's long.
And I know it's because he's left-handed, but I'm trying to pay attention, and you just watch him. His feet are a little, need a lot of work to do. Found it interesting that both him and Julian Sayin each fumbled their first snap under center. It's probably, they probably haven't taken a snap under center in years.
Oh yeah, probably. Freshman maybe.
So, I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't really put a lot of thought into, is that these kids that come in, fresh out of high school, it's a different world.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams didn't start at Oklahoma. They brought him in off the bench about halfway through the season. I
have zero expectations for the freshmen.
None.
Quarterbacks. Let me make sure I say that.
Yeah.
Freshmen.
There's some freshmen I've got some expectations for now.
Yes. All right. So I want to ask you too. So you and I hit on this on Tuesday, and I'm going to hit on it again today. So Fryer was still at right tackle. Montgomery's at right guard. And then Ryan Day called out Ryan Montgomery specifically in his presser, saying that they liked his athleticism. And you and I know that the way Chip Kelly runs his offense, he wants that fill and replace on the pull with his guards and his center. So Ryan Montgomery, very fleet of foot. So the trap, the pull, the pulling guards. Maybe Montgomery is going to be the right guard. I would be way wrong. I would admit I'm wrong. I thought he was going to play right tackle. So
yeah, I think it makes sense. There were some rumblings about him being, a little shorter than ideal for that tackle spot, and maybe arms are a little bit shorter than ideal, but his feet are great, and he's going to be great at the guard position. I just want to see the best five out there. I'm still not convinced that Fryer is one of them, but we'll see. I do get the impression that we're going to see more of a rotation this year in some key spots than we have in the past, and that's just I hope that's not wishful thinking. But, we'll probably see some guys get some work. I looked at the schedule again this morning, and, we got, 4 games to lead up to arguably 5. I mean, Iowa's offense, the week before.
Well, I don't even – they lost a lot of their defense too, didn't they? They graduated a ton of 4th and 5th year guys.
They're well coached. They'll be fine.
Yeah,
but, if we don't beat them by 30, there's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Ferentz, I think the world of Kirk Ferentz. So, and I'm not much of a other teams coach guy, but there's a couple guys in the league that I appreciate a lot, and Kirk Ferentz is one of them. It's because he reminds me of Jim Tressel, as a lot of it. Yeah. So, he plays a flavor of Tressel ball with the great defense, good special teams, and enough offense to win. But that'll only take you so far in today's football. But
and he survived. He survived a little bit of a scandal there in a in a day cancel culture day and age. For him to have survived that, I think speaks volumes as to what how he's thought of there.
Yeah. So next thing I would be curious to know about, and I know you were on Bucknuts this morning, and so was I. So I had hit on this on Tuesday, and I think we talked about it even before spring practice starts, is my guy, Keenan McDonald, making some moves, and then Will Smith Jr. as well. So defensive tackle room is deeper than we thought, ?
It sure seems like it, and that's amazing, right? I mean, those guys, I commented in there that our D-line is starting to look like an SEC D-line when they get off the bus. I mean, I saw a picture of Caden McDonald. That joker's what? They said he's 6'4", 326.
Yeah, he was like
and he's not like a Tyleek Williams 320. Like the kid's built.
Yeah, he's jacked, man. And then what was the other one they brought up? Taiwan Malone was, I guess, looking pretty chiseled.
And Hero.
Yeah, Hero Canoe. Yeah, I know you like Hero Canoe.
I do. I think he, I think he's going to have a coming out season for us. Yeah.
I want to stay kind of on I'm jumping back and forth a little bit, but it's just to talk about different guys. So I know one of my favorite kids in the class is James Peoples that was coming in. I think he was underrated. I think he's going to be a great back. And I know Berm said that he looks like J.K. Dobbins 2.0. And that was the first thing I thought when I saw the picture of him at the Cotton Bowl with the rest of the backs. I was like, man, that kid does not look like an incoming freshman or a senior in high school. So the thing I took away from a lot of the reporting I had read, and I guess I knew this. I remember somebody mentioning this. He has great hands. Like, he's great at catching the ball out of the backfield. So will he see the field? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think in that position's one where this is going to be a long enough season. I mean, obviously we got Trey and Q. We got Dallin. I think they're going to make sure Dallin gets his fair share of carries. But I think
next year.
James Peoples, he'll be in there because if you think about it, even in these games where we pull the starters at half or after the first series of the third quarter, you're not going to go with just Dallin for the rest of the second half. Yeah. Right. So, you're going to see a platoon between, at the very least between him and James Peoples. But I tell you, it finally came to me who I think he looks like when I see him in his uniform, and it's Saquon Barkley. And so his legs.
Oh, wow. That's a great comparison. Yeah, I like that.
He's got 2 oak trees. Yeah. Coming out of his torso.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and he's 18.
Yeah. I remember watching his clip when he committed to Ohio State. And then I kind of did a deep dive of his junior season, and the guys just drip off of him. When he gets through the line of scrimmage, if you hit him low, you're done, man. Like, if you hit him in the waist, the guys just drip off him. And then
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then he breaks it, and, good luck catching him.
Yeah. I mean, he's 5'11", 215. I mean, he's got a low center of gravity. His waist is low to the ground already, and he's just so damn thick that I'm excited to see him play. And I think that, unlike a lot of other positions, especially skill positions, running back's one where, you're going to see somebody go in there and play a little bit as a freshman. The one thing that jumped out at me, I can't remember who I was listening to, but they were talking about, I want to say it was JK, and I might be wrong on this, but they were saying that like even in his best seasons, he only had 180 carries. And
yeah, that's probably about right. Cause you think about it, he had Haskins and Fields. So, and Haskins in 18 threw for 50 tutties. So, that's probably correct. I'd have to go back and look it up, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, but you think about the fact that Q, he's got almost 600 carries in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that he left.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder that he's not worried about carries.
Well, wasn't Weber was here part of that time too, though, right? Mike Weber was in the part of there, so like he would have split some reps with Webbs.
Yeah, but even in his 2,000-yard season, I want to say he didn't have more than 180 carries.
Yeah,
it was something crazy.
Fair, yeah, that's fair.
That might be off. Now, when I do the math in my head, I can't imagine he averaged more than 10 yards a carry. But I don't. I mean, the point is that there's a lot of carries to go around. I think everybody's going to be just fine.
I'll look up the season totals while we're talking. Of course, it comes up with the NFL. All right. Yeah. Oh, well. Anyways, yeah. Okay. So I want to touch on one other point about spring practice, and then we can move on to a couple of our other topics. So if you didn't know, spring break is next week for the guys, so there's no spring practice next week. So we're going to do our actual Q&A Tuesday. So we'll be dropping out some questions for you guys that, or if you have questions for us. And then so Lorenzo Styles and Brandon Ennis returning punts and making fancy moves. Did you hear that too?
I heard that. Yeah, I heard Lorenzo more on kickoff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they had a bunch of people back there. They had JJ back there. They had Trey back there.
Yeah. He does that just to screw with people. Ryan Day's just doing that just to mess with the beat, man.
I mean, listen, if there's one thing I'm really, really comfortable about saying is that there is no way Trey Henderson will be returning a punt this year.
Well, I said there was no way that Chip Trainum was going to be returning kickoffs, and then, it happened one game and he fumbled. So
yeah, but you know what? And that's some of the other folks will talk about this ad nauseum, but this is a Ryan Day philosophy. He will not put his best players back there. But going back to Saquon Barkley, Saquon Barkley returned kicks his entire career at Penn State.
Yeah.
And then what happens when these guys go to the league? They don't return any kicks, and then the way they earn a roster spot is to return kicks.
So
and play on special teams.
I'm gonna say this, and now remember when I was young, I was a Browns fan, and I still to this day remember Eric Mangini putting Kellen Winslow, was it Mangini, on kickoffs, and he blew his knee out. Like the second game of the year, your top draft pick, the most versatile weapon you have, and he gets his knee blown out, man, and he's out. He's done. Idiots. Anyways, I can go on a tangent about the Browns sometimes, but I think we're gonna
need to get a therapist to join us if we start talking about the Browns.
Yeah, I think that's a very real fear. I mean, it's a very real fear for coaches to put the best of the best on the field, and then something happens, and then you're going to get the questions like we would say, like, why did you do that? What were you thinking? He's invaluable. Now let's caveat this with the wide receiver room is really, really deep.
Yeah. So,
I do not put Jeremiah Smith back there. Don't do it. Ryan Day, if you're listening.
Yeah.
I will find you.
I actually think, now that I think back to it, I think it started with Urban, because at Florida, he wouldn't play Percy Harvin on special teams.
After he was a freshman, he did not. No. And then somebody else was doing the kick returns too. It was that fast little dude. I can't remember.
Demps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So spring break this week. What do you want to hear when the team comes back from spring break? What do you want to hear from Coach Day? What do you want to hear from the players? Anything you're looking forward to, Well,
I need to clarify. Is there a practice tomorrow?
I think there's a walkthrough tomorrow.
Okay. So when they come back,
it's usually light.
What I want to hear is pads popping.
Yeah.
right? They've got to get in. I think they've got a rule where they got
12 practices. 11 in the spring game.
Yeah, well, there's 15 practices altogether in the spring, I think, and then but the first 2 have to be with nothing but helmets.
Correct.
And then shoulder girdles.
Correct.
And then there's one with just shoulder pads. And then they're full pads after that. But once they put the shoulder pads on, they're popping, right? I mean, these kids barely wear any pads from the waist down, anyways, during the season.
Yeah, I know, that's the weirdest thing, man.
Yeah. So they'll start popping. So I want to hear the pads popping. I want to hear about Sonny causing fits for the offense.
All right.
I want to hear about the battles between the receivers and the DBs. I just want to hear about just
football,
psychotic competitiveness. That's what I want to hear about.
Yeah, football. Routes on air right now it's great because we get it gives us something to talk about and we get to see the players. So and I don't think I mean everybody I talked to, everybody's so juiced for this season, man. It's like I can't wait. So if I was going to give you any word about them coming back from spring break, it would be healthy and rejuvenated. Those are my 2 words. So I know, and as a college student, spring break was always depending on what you were doing. Like I always felt like, oh man, like we're so close to the end. Classes are so close to the end. Summer's almost here. I feel like I can breathe a little bit. No practice, on and on and on. And then you're in the weight room and that's about it. You don't have any responsibilities. You don't have to be like trying to make it a study table. There's all those things that go along with that. And so I was thinking, health, like get healthy if you have any like bruises or, dings, and get rejuvenated and get ready for this push for the next 8 months. So that's my words. That's how I came up. That's what I came up with. So I posed this to you the other day, and we're going to make some people mad. In regards to recruiting, Ohio State, is on like their break kind of right now, but they just landed a punter. But what if I told you that I was thinking it was Ohio State, Georgia, and Oregon, and then everybody else is just left picking up whatever those 3 schools aren't taking right now or aren't in on. I'm talking about 5 stars primarily because Oregon's doing a heck of a job. Like they're building something out there. Georgia is doing what Georgia does. Ohio State is like racking them up. You look, Tavian St. Clair just got his 5th star. What do you think? Is that fair, foul, not right? Or are there just too damn many dang 5 stars now in this world as compared to the 90s?
About 25 to 32 or 33 they try to have.
Yeah. It's not like the 90s, man.
Yeah.
There was like 5.
Yeah. Obviously those 3 programs are obvious. A few that I think you probably left out are a Texas. Just because of, they've got the no game money figured out. They're Texas and they're in Texas, right? Yeah.
I like Texas, the state, by the way, just for those of you listening.
Yeah. I don't think it's reasonable to discount Alabama yet. They are still Alabama. But I think they're going to take a year or 2 to adjust. The other one that, I get reminded of on a regular basis by one of my buddies here, and I can't say that he's wrong, is, LSU.
Okay.
LSU,
I'll give you those.
We saw where we've got like 3 in the top 6 of the new rankings.
Yep.
Well, they've got 3 in the top 10.
Yep.
They've got the number 1 rated quarterback.
Bryce Underwood, right, was one of them. I saw that and I just thought it was funny because he lives like 7 miles from Ann Arbor or the stadium or something, and he didn't go to Michigan.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that sucks for them.
I feel so bad.
LSU, I think is, you've got an adult down there running the program finally.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. You really haven't had one since
before
Saban.
Coach O.
Yeah, with Saban. Les Miles, like I said.
Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. I'll go back to Saban. I hate Les Miles, so
I still think Les was smoking more grass than he was eating.
Yeah,
and he was just eating it to provide himself a cover. Yeah, I mean LSU. I mean, it's just Louisiana is so rich in talent.
Yeah,
deep
talent area. Yeah,
and Brian
close
Kelly,
to Texas.
Brian Kelly reminds me a little bit of Chip Kelly. Coming and being just a play caller. He's finally somewhere that he doesn't have to worry about anything. He just can go out and get the best players.
Yep.
So that's the one that I think was left off the list that is going to be heard from on a regular basis.
All right, fair enough, man. All right, cool. So sticking with recruiting, I mentioned already Tavian St. Clair moves up to a 5-star. Trey McNutt, Marquise Davis, Cristobal to Ohio State. There's some other guys that I'm looking for in this class for the 2025, like I would consider must-haves. I'm leaving the offensive line out because we've already talked about David Sanders, Micah DeBose, and some of those others on the podcast. So who are your must-haves in this class? And then if you leave any off that I grabbed, I'll let you know.
Well, the first one that comes to mind, number one, we need 2 or 3 guys along the defensive line. We got a lot of guys leaving this year, right?
Yeah.
We got at least 3
that
are gone for sure.
Yeah.
Jack, JT, and Tyleek.
Yep.
So we need to replenish that. But the one that I'm going to say is a must-have is TJ Alford.
Okay, Tarvis Alford, yeah.
We need – Laurinaitis needs to have that win coming out of the gate. If we lose out on our number one linebacking target as soon as he gets promoted, then that's going to be bothersome. So that's where I'm going.
Okay. Yeah, so I caught a couple guys and there's one kid in this class that I don't care what you have to do in NIL to get this kid. He's in Indiana. His name is Damian Shanklin. He's an edge. And that kid plays violent. I mean, he is trying to hurt people. And you can't – there's 2 things, man. You can't coach speed. You can't coach a kid to be faster. Like you can a little bit, but speed and violence and coming downhill, man. And that's just want to. And a desire. And so he's one I'm really watching for. Marion Dye is another one. I know he's crystal ball to Ohio State, so another edge guy I think would be great for them. Cedric Works is in Ohio, and he doesn't have an Ohio State offer yet, and I'm kind of watching that. He's in that 4-star range. I think that if he's going to camp at Ohio State, he's another guy, keep an ear out for him. Bends the edge really nicely. I think he needs to get thicker. He's a little bit light as far as things go, but I think he's another one. And then I was curious, have you looked at all at Madden for Ferriamo out of California or out of Miami? He's a linebacker. He's got an offer from Ohio State. He's I think it's Ohio State and Miami. And he's near the top 100, so he's another one that you would add with Eli Lee and Tarvis Alford. It's like 50-50 with him and us in Miami. Looks. He's a football player. He'd be a Mike. He's not an outside backer. He'd be a Mike. But have you looked at him at all?
I haven't looked at him at all. My first thought of the Miami area is that unless it's a receiver, we always seem to get left.
Yeah, we get those, man. Yeah.
We're chasing the running back down there again.
What running back's down there?
As soon as I said it, I drew a blank. I want to say he's at Heritage, another Heritage kid, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe St. Thomas Aquinas.
You've stumped me because I know they're in on Marquise Davis and Bo Jackson in Ohio, and then Jordan Davison is the other one out of Monterey.
They've still got the kid down there in Miami that they've offered.
Oh, this has been recent, hasn't it? I feel like I know who you're talking about now. Yeah. So to be fair, guys, there's a reason that Bill Kurlick and Mark Porter do the recruiting stuff because you need a whole division dedicated to recruiting. We try to talk about it and keep up with it as much as we can. And I've said this on other shows, man, when I was just doing the Buckeye Blitz, that you almost need a whole one person just dedicated to doing recruiting because it changes so fast and there's always stuff going on. What are your thoughts on Jamie French? So the trend is away from Bama towards Ohio State. Like it, love it, not sure.
I mean, I love it. I think he's a dynamic playmaker. I think it's interesting that people are using the word freak with him, and maybe that's the case. But man, when you compare him, when you put him next to JJ or even Carnell for that matter, I mean, Carnell's frame was bigger coming out of high school, so he's lean, man. He's thin, kind of got a Devontae Smith feel to me.
Okay.
Which
you're a much more you're a much more higher complimenter than I am. So he reminds me of Ben Victor.
Okay.
Now I'm not saying the talent level is the same. I'm just saying he's lean, he's long, long strides. Now, not comparing talent level, just body type, please. Like that's it. So
yeah. All right, I mean, they don't get much thinner than Devontae Smith. I mean that man.
Yeah, he was thin.
I've never seen a premier athlete have no butt at all.
Yeah.
You got to do some lunges or something.
For sure.
But I mean, he's super talented. I'm more intrigued by the other guy that we got crystal ball to us the other day, Brown.
Yeah, Brown looks good.
Just because he's an athlete. I mean, I think of him as somebody in the return game, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, guys, that's Buckeye Friday for you. We're off and running in every which way. So, Dan, any last words, man? I'm just going to tell everybody, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the weekend.
No, just hit like and subscribe. Let people know about us.
Yeah.
We're having fun. We have the most fun when we get to answer your questions. So we appreciate those of you that have become loyal listeners. And, if you can get the word out, that'd be awesome. We'd appreciate you.
Yeah, I do want to say thanks because our subscriptions continue to tick up, and so we're having a lot of fun. Dan and I, like we said, I literally tweeted this out the other day. We are fans for the fans. Like we're just having fun. So we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you about your stuff too. So thanks everybody for listening. You guys have a good weekend, I guess, and enjoy the weather. And as always, stay safe. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.